Good morning, grade 10 students. Welcome to Valenzuela Live. I'm your teacher for today. I'm Ma'am Nelly D. Alvarez from Malinta National High School. Our topic for today is the relationship between population growth and carrying capacity. In today's lessons, our objectives are explain population growth and how does population growth affect the carrying capacity of an ecosystem. Last meeting, you have learned about the flow of energy in an ecosystem, how species diversity increases the probability of adaptation and survival of organisms in changing environments. How is biodiversity is related to stability, and how biodiversity affects in ecosystem. Since you already know the importance of biodiversity, let us continue the discussions of the relationship between population growth and carrying capacity. What does this symbol represent? Yes, it is a population. And let us define population. A population refers to a group of organisms of the same kind of species living in the same place at the same time. A population may increase or decrease due to birth, death, immigrations, and migrations. Did you know that as of March 2, 2020, the world population is 7.8 billion? The current population of the Philippines is 110,581,078 based on the world meter elaboration of the latest United Nations data. The Philippine population is equivalent to 1.41% of the world total population, making it the 30th of or in the list of the countries with the highest populations. What did you observe in this picture? If you answer population growth, then you are correct. Population growth increases in the number of individuals in a population. Population growth is based on the four fundamental factors. First is natality. Second is immigration. Third is emigration. And fourth is mortality. Now, let us talk it one by one. Natality is defined as the ratio of a live birth in an area to a population of that area expressed per 1,000 population per year. And natality in population ecology is the scientific term for birth rate. Along with mortality rate, natality rate is used to calculate the dynamics of a population. Next is mortality and morbidity. They are often used together. They sound a bit similar, so it is no wonder that some confusion exists when it comes to choosing one of them. Mortality refers to someone being dead. The mortality rate usually refers to a number of deaths that occurs in a year per 1,000 people. Often, it is paired with birth rate. And while mortality refers to someone being unhealthy, the morbidity rate examines how many people got a certain disease in a specific population at a specific geographical location during a specific period of time. Next is immigration. The prefix "im" means in, while the root word migrate means to move from one place to another. So meaning immigration is the individual movement into an area. Example, animal in search of mates and food in a new area. Next is emigration. E prefix means to out. And again, as I said, migrate means to move from one place to another. So emigrate means individual moving out from one place to another. Example, the young wolves and bears living there are rather living as they mature, or they are living because they are having shortage of food. Using these factors, the formula in determining the population growth is as follows. Population growth is equals to birth plus immigrants minus death and immigrants. Population growth has two types. One is exponential growth and another one is logistic growth. Let us discuss exponential population growth. Exponential population growth. A population can grow at geometric exponential rates in the presence of a plentiful resources. There are also a rapid growth which has caused a higher birth rate than a death rate. Exponential growth has a J-shaped curve and only happen if there is no limit on the population growth. This means that birth rate are higher than death rate and there are plentiful resources. The best example of exponential growth is seen in bacteria. Bacteria are prokaryotes that are reproduced by prokaryotic fissions, that after 1 day and 24 of the cycle, the population would increase from 1,000 to more than 16 billion. A species that can grow exponentially in a rapid changing environment is called DR strategies. Next is a logistic population growth. The rate of the population growth decreases and gradually slows as resources are depleted. Population growth stops when it reaches the carrying capacity of the environment. Species that grow slowly are called K strategies. Unlike exponential growth, logistic growth shows sigmoidal or the S-shaped curve. What causes logistic population growth? When our resources are limited, the population exhibits logistic growth. In logistic, population expansion decreases as resources become scarce, leveling off when the carrying capacity of the environment is reached, resulting in the S-shaped curve. Example in a wild population includes sheep and harbor seals. In both examples, the population size exceeds the carrying capacity for a short period and then falls below the carrying capacity afterwards. Population growth is related to a population density, which refers to the number of organisms per unit area. When a population density is very high, a lot of organisms is crowded into a certain area. But when the population density is very low, few organisms into a certain area. As the population grows in an area, population may experience the effect of increase in density. In a given area, the maximum population size of the species that the environment can sustain is called the carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is the maximum number of organisms that can be supported or carried by the environment. Each population of organisms has different carrying capacity, depending on the number of resources available in the area in which it lives. Carrying capacity determines the number of resources like food, water, and habitat. Note that if the population grows indefinitely, competition increases between organisms and less available resources will be available to sustain the population, which can lead to density dependent. And for this reason, it may cause the ecosystem to collapse. An example of this carrying capacity is the carrying capacity of the North American deer. As the result of the loss of their main predator, the deer population began to boom, and eventually deer began to starve because their large number depleted their main source of food. They have been reached their carrying capacity. A population growth is limited into two general factors: the density depending limiting factor, factors that regulates population growth and influenced by the population density. Examples like diseases and parasites, competition for resources, predations, and immigrations. An increase in population density could lead deficiency in resources like food, the shelter, of course, the water, that could lead to increased competition that can often cause harm to individuals. Increase in population density could also increase the amount of waste produced by the members of the population, which can lead to unhealthy living space that result to disease. Next is the density independent limiting factor. In the density independent limiting factor affect population regardless of size. The growth of the population may be limited to the following: food and nutrient limitation, pollutants in the environment, the climate extreme including seasonal cycles like monsoon and other catastrophic events like earthquake. In a population growth, remember, and carrying capacity, a population is a type of individual of the same kind that can occupy a particular place throughout the period. A population growth shows us the picture on how the population changed quickly over time. As the population increases in an area, a population may encounter the impact of increased densities. A population that is more than its carrying capacity will destroy the environment quickly, that the carrying capacity will be diminishing, resulting in the population destruction. And for today's activity, let us play fa or bluff. Right, so right, fa, if the statement is true, and bluff, if the statement is not true. You will be given two attempts to answer the given number. All right, so let us start with number 1. Exponential growth shows the J-shaped curve and only happen if there is no limit on the population growth. Timer starts now. All right, so let's proceed with number 2. Population density is very low when a lot of organisms is crowded per unit area. Timer starts now. Okay, let us proceed with number 3. A logistic population growth represents the S-shaped curve. Timer starts now. All right, let's proceed with number 4. A population may increase or decrease due to birth, death, immigration, and migration. Timer starts now. All right, so last but not the least, mortality refers to someone being dead. All right, so let us now check your work. So let us check your answer on number 1. If your answer is PAC, you are correct. And if you answer bluff in number 2, you are absolutely correct. If you check, if you answer PAC in number 3, absolutely correct. And for number 4, if your answer is PAC, you are also correct. And the last, of course, if your answer is PAC in number 5, you are absolutely correct. Good work, my dear students. And for our question and answer, please write down your questions on the comment box, and our teacher moderator will pick a random questions. 3 minutes will be given to you. You may start now.
Entertainment.
All right, time is up. Question number 1 is from Parada National High School. How does birth rate and death rate affect population growth? Okay, so population change is governed by the balance between birth rate and death rate. If the birth rate stays the same, the death rate decreases. Then the population number will grow. If the birth rate increases and the death rate stays the same, then the population also grows. Okay, so next question, sir. From Genti National High School. How does population growth affect the carrying capacity? Okay, since that is one of our objectives, we alter carrying capacity when we manipulate resources in the natural environment. Remember, if the population exceeds the carrying capacity, the ecosystem may become unsuitable for the species to survive. If the population exceeds the carrying capacity for a long period, resources may be completely depleted. All right? So for those questions that do not cater for today, will be entertained by your teacher in the follow-up discussion. Let me end up my discussion by sharing a quote from David Attenborough. Instead of controlling the environment for the benefit of the population, perhaps you should control population to ensure the survival of the environment. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Keep safe, everyone. Bye-bye.